starting with number 1, if you went back in your notes, you had 2 different ways to go about doing this. One was doing your factor tree method for each number and variable, or doing your perfect cube method. Your negative needs to be on the outside, so whether you did that first or waited until later, that was one thing that needed to happen. I'm just going to use the perfect cube method so that we're not writing a bunch of things all over the place, and we don't have space for that anyway. Perfect cubes, there is one that goes into 250, and that's 125. So 125 is your perfect cube. The cube root of 125 is 5. And then thinking about your variables, you can either do the factor tree method and write them all out and then find your groups of 3, or think about how many times 3 goes into these numbers and then see how much would be left. So 3 goes into 3 once, so that would be 1a that gets to come out, none left on the inside. 3 does not go into 2, so both b squares are going to stay on the inside. 3 goes into 5 once, and there would be 2 left over. So you have 1c that gets to come out, and then 2 that will stay inside. And 3 goes into 9 3 times, so all of the d's would come out. And then putting everything on the outside together and then everything on the inside together, we have negative 5a c d to the third. And then on the inside, we have the cube root of 2b squared c squared. So that would be our final answer. Questions on that one? Number 2, we needed to simplify, distribute first. Whether you simplified as you distributed or not didn't matter. I'm going to wait and distribute or simplify afterwards. So we have 3/10 x minus 8 over 2 plus 14/20 x plus 28/4. You could simplify 3 of these things. So 3/10 x would stay the same. This would become negative 4. This would become 7 over 10 x. And then this would become a 7. Combine your like terms. Your x's both have fractions. They both have the same common denominator. So just add your numerators, 3 and 7. And then negative 4 plus 7 will give us a positive 3. And then simplify. So 1x plus 3 or x plus 3 was your final answer for that one. Questions on that? For number 3, domain and range, this is something we were just doing. Domain is for this left or for this right. And you would have to write it in your curly brackets, your set builder notation. This starts at -6 and goes, I'm assuming, to positive 6, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it should be -6 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 6, ending with curly brackets. Then your range is lowest to highest. So it starts at -5 and it goes to -2. So -5 is less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to -2. questions on our domain and range. We had 2, 3, and then I think 5 was the last one. Five is also something we were just talking about. This is f of -2, so is this x or is this y? X. Sure, we do both. No, it's okay. So this is x, yes, so you would put that in. And then figure out what your y value is. So f of -2 should have been 36. If you did not use parentheses, you may have gotten the wrong answer. Questions on that one? Nature. Oh, that should have just been 20. My bad. I was thinking 8 and then I added them together before. Anyway, 28. My bad. My brain was working faster than my hand was through. Okay, and then 4. So this is like a preview. When I go to grade them, you'll get all 5 of these points if you've written them down correctly. Isolate your absolute values, so get rid of your 3. Divide both sides by 5. And then your absolute value sign cannot equal a negative, so no solution. So if you have any other work after that, erase it. Slowly.
If we got the, like, after the negative, like, the time from negative, can we say no solution?
It was already negative, but you have to make sure your absolute value sign is isolated before you can say that. Other questions on that? Okay. Take out your slope notes if you don't already have them. And find this page. Some of you may have started to realize this last class that eventually we're going to get to slope-intercept form. Some of you may have seen this before. Your slope-intercept form is your y equals mx plus b. Where we talked about last class, m is the slope. Anyone know what b is? Okay. So in these examples, you'll be given your slope and your y-intercept, and really they just want to know, do you know which one is which and where to put both? So like for number 1, all of your equations are going to start off y equals. Your m is your slope, so then 2. After your slope would be x. And then whatever your y-intercept is, whatever that sign is, put that. There are no plus minuses here, so just put -1. It doesn't have to be positive, it depends on what it is. If I said, how would we write 5? How would we do that? Thank you. Or if you want it to still include the 0, you can put 1/4 x plus 0. Either or. Look at the other ones in that section. Are there any others we want to see, go over, double check if we already did it? Izion, do you need another one of those? Yes. So you should be able to, when given your slope and y-intercept, write it out in slope-intercept form. Make sure you don't confuse them or put them in the wrong places. We're going to skip over 7 and 8 because that's more for writing. And when we come back from lunch, we're going to start on the next page. Alright, this next piece, you don't need to memorize this formula, but you need to know what it looks like. So standard form is ax plus by equals c. And we're going to be converting from standard form to slope-intercept form. When we do this, you'll notice it'll be very similar to when we were solving literal equations, because we did this kind of already. We just didn't really put a name to it. So as we are converting this back to slope-intercept form, we are trying to get y by itself, moving everything else, so that it is back in our slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. This is always so loud. Alright, so starting with the first one, how would we get y by itself? Think about your literal equations when we were solving for a specific variable. What would we do, Alex?
Subtract 2x.
To the other side.
Yes.
Remember, when you do that, you're not combining 3 and 2x. You're just moving it to the other side, get rid of it. And then you can do one of two things. Write it however it was, and then switch it so that the m is first. Or, as soon as you write it down, switch it. The order doesn't matter. Switch it first or switch it later, it doesn't matter. As long as when you switch it, the sign stays the same. So if the slope is supposed to be negative and the y-intercept is supposed to be positive, keep those the same. So this would be our answer. Questions on that before we do another? Let's try number 2 then. How would we start getting y by itself, Nature? So the process for the most part is going to be the same for all of these. Get rid of your x term by either adding or subtracting. I'm going to go ahead and switch this now so I don't have to do it later. And then how would we get y by itself, Nature? Yeah, so here we really want to make sure we're dividing each piece by that number so that everything simplifies. So we have y equals, simplify your slope, don't put it as a decimal. If it can't be simplified, just rewrite it. And then what would our new y-intercept be? So y equals negative 4 over 5x minus 6 would be our final answer there. Questions so far? Let's skip down to number 5. Walk me through how would we do this problem. Matthew? Are you raising your hand or not? Okay. Cameron? Because there's a 0, you can either put negative 4x plus 0 or leave it off. Does not matter. And the next. Nature. Divide, but yes, by negative 1. You don't have to write both, but if you're doing one or the other, that's how to do both. So y equals, what would our new equation be? Cameron?
Y equals 4x plus 0.
Or just 4x, either or is fine. Questions on that one? And then last one I want to do together, and then any others you guys want to do is 7. How would we start that one? We'll add 6x to both sides. So we have 4y equals 6x plus 20. And then Emma? So when we divide by 4, we'll have to simplify both of these. What would our new equation be? Yeah.
6 over 4x plus 5.
Simplify 6 over 4. So 3 over 2x plus 5 would be our final answer. Look over those others we did not do. Do we have questions on any of those on that page we want to see, go over, have questions about? So, as I said, we weren't doing a whole lot of notes today. We have finished the slope notes. So for the rest of the class, you guys are going to be practicing. So I'm going to give you options. 1, if you've already finished the slope from before, the slope from graph and slope from 2 points, you can work on the last one, slope-intercept intro, because you have the knowledge for that now. So I know some of you or a couple of you already did that one, which is great. If you did not finish those 2, do those first and then do the other one. Once you finish those, you can either work on the Desmos activity I was telling you about the other day. I'll pull it back up so you know where to go. Or you can work on practice in your notes, so doing the problems we did not do, going to the last page, and practicing there. After you either do the Desmos or the practice sheet, then you can work on other things school-wise or not. Right? So be working on Khan Academy first, and then practice. And then after that, you have time. You guys can work together. If you need my help or have questions, let me know on any of that.